Hello, everyone. Welcome to Module 4, Relationship Building. We're preparing a special event. Let's talk about our objectives. As always, I encourage you to read the Module 4 content that's inside our course. In this presentation, we're going to focus on Deliverable 4. It's based on two parts. Part 1 will create a detailed agenda for the day, and Part 2, we will summarize the events you will hold. The goal is to cultivate fair, respectful, and equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and oneself. As we're moving through, we're going to be talking about the different types of events that we will have during our event day. The 5 events are training courses, diversity awareness exercises, team building activities, employee motivation, and sales tools for understanding and communicating. We know what we need to do. We're going to read the inside content first, and then we're going to come over and focus on Deliverable 4. Now, perhaps in the past you skimmed through these, but on this one, it offers you very detailed instructions to follow. So we have to read the scenario. I want to highlight some of the things in the scenario. You can read the rest inside our course. Let's start with the first sentence. The HR director at your organization has noticed that many of the BDRs and sales team representatives do not know each other or appreciate one another's diversity. The HR director thinks this could be a reason for impaired communication and collaboration. And by now, we probably know the importance of the BDR and the sales team communicating and collaborating. Remember, the process starts with the BDR and moves eventually to the sales representative. They need to be able to communicate. They need to understand the needs and roles of each other. All right, let's go to the next paragraph. Because you are the lead BDR, the HR director has put you in charge of creating a fun event. The main objective for the event is to ensure all participants, BDRs, and sales team know how to cultivate fair, respectful, and equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and oneself. We may be acting as either a BDR or a sales representative, but we all must work as a team. Next paragraph. Your job is to create a detailed agenda for the day. You need to summarize the events and activities. And you need to identify at least 3 sales tools. So before this meeting starts, we are asked to compile an agenda showing the start times and the end times, the types of activities that we'll be engaged in during our event day, and the goal and purpose of each of those activities. Remember, this whole event is focusing in on communication and collaboration. Our instructions. Write a 2 to 3 page proposal about the team building retreat in a Microsoft Word document. Okay, so we know we have to make it at least 2 pages, maybe even 3 or more, but at least 2. And it's going to be in a Microsoft Word document. As always, we're going to be applying APA formatting, which includes headings, 3 to 5 words aligned left and bold. One other thing I'm going to encourage you to create here is a table, and the table must also be formatted using APA 7th edition formatting. And let's look at the subpoints in the instructions. A list of the planned events, including the scheduled start time and end time for each event. Include a wrap-up and sharing session at the end. Number 2, a summary of each activity that focuses on specific goals, which include cultivating fairness, respect, equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and oneself. You will need to address each of these 5 goals at least once in your activities. Some of your activities may focus on multiple goals. When creating your plan, include which of the goal or goals are being addressed with the activity. Number 3, identify at least 3 sales tools. Okay, you know how I like to start. I like us to focus on the grading rubric. Get a feel for what you have to do in order to succeed in this deliverable. Number 1, thoroughly listed the planned events showing the scheduled time for each, including start and end times. And in this row, I want you to create a table using APA formatting that shows this. In a minute, I'll show you the table. Item 2, thoroughly summarize each activity, each of the 5 goals. So we have to have an activity, and each one of them must address at least one of these 5 goals, at least one. Each of the 5 goals, which are cultivating fairness, respect, equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and oneself. It is possible to address more than one of those goals in the activity, but for each activity you select, at least one of those goals must be addressed. And you must clearly state which goal is being addressed by this activity. Number 3, thoroughly identified more than. Thoroughly identified more than. See, there's a little jump there in this grading rubric. This one says identified more than 3 sales. You have to do that if you're striving for an A. If you want to go down to a B level, satisfactorily identify 3 sales tools. So we're asking you to go above and beyond the 3 sales. That will be discussed with the attendees, including a brief description of each and a reason why you use it in the company. Keep in mind the 5 goals. So all this is being interrelated. How do these tools work in your company, and how does each tool address at least one of these goals? You know you can have more than one goal being addressed by a given tool, but you have to be addressing at least one of those goals: cultivating fairness, respect, equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and oneself. All right, number 4, please be careful. Include 2 or more resources, APA completed and done accurately. I'm going to stress that Rasmussen University has an excellent section on APA formatting in its online library. I have shared the link to that site more than once, and I'll be sure to include it in another course announcement. So please go there. It's really designed, it's very user-friendly, it shows you examples, and it will really help you. if you master it. Okay, as I stated earlier, this event day is divided into two parts. Part one, create a detailed agenda for the day. And part two, summarize the events you will hold. Part one, create a detailed agenda for the day. Be careful, we have some requirements that we have to meet here. Team building session will last for 8 hours. It will start at 8 a.m. It will end at 4 p.m. So you've got the time between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Here's another requirement. Schedule two 15-minute breaks in the morning between 8 a.m. and noon, and then two 15-minute breaks in the afternoon between 1 and 4. So what happens between noon and 1? That's the time you'll be taking a 1-hour lunch break. Right now, each activity should take approximately 30 minutes. At the end of the day, a 30-minute wrap-up and sharing session. And be careful, the day ends when? That's right, 4 p.m. And we have to have a 30-minute wrap-up and sharing session before the end of the day. That means this wrap-up and sharing session should start when and end when. Some people got this confused in the past, but it starts at 3:30 and it ends at 4 o'clock. In the past, some people started the session at 4:30 and held the group till 5. You just entered into overtime. So don't do that. It's got to end at 4. It's going to start at 8 and end at 4. We're going to include a total of 4 15-minute breaks, 2 in the morning between 8 and noon, and 2 in the end or the afternoon, which is between 1 and 4. Now, you can't possibly have a 15-minute break going past or starting at 3:30 because we have to do that wrap-up and sharing session. Well, now we've got all the requirements to play this game. Now let's move forward. Summarize the events you will hold. Vary your activities to include training courses, diversity awareness exercises, team building activities, employee motivation, and sales tools for understanding and communicating. Remember, we have to identify more than 3 tools, sales tools, in order to score higher on that one requirement. If you only identify 3 sales tools, you go to the B level or number 3, right? I have plenty of resources to share with you to help you succeed in this deliverable. List the planned events, showing the scheduled time for each, including start and end times. We're going to list them how? In a table. And the table must be APA formatted. So let's look at this image. We have the table number, probably your only table, so it could be table 1, right? Write table title here with concise, clear, and explanatory title. So whatever title you use, type it under the table number, and then also note that that information, the title, is italicized. All right, and let's go down to the body of the table. We have headings. Those are the borders, right? How many lines going across? Well, it's not like a regular table that you might have seen. It limits how many lines or borders you should use in an APA table. One on top of the headings one underneath the headings. In the body of the table, we do not have any borders. We have a 3-column table. We're listing the event, we're listing the start time, and we're showing the end time. Please use this table. I'll be looking for it when I review your work. If you have any problems creating an APA table, please let me know. All right, let's look at some of the possible things we could do for our event day. One thing we might consider are sharing some training courses with our people. Remember our 5 goals. As we're going through here, we have to select these that relate to our 5 goals. Did you know companies willing to invest in sales training are 57% more effective than rival companies that make no such investments? So it's always wise to include training courses. You don't have to spend a lot of money for training courses. I found sources that offer free training courses. In fact, if you visit some of these, you might even want to engage in the free training courses just to help you prepare for your professional career. Allison, free online sales courses. Remember, I always provide the links in our course announcements. These are just some examples where you can find multiple courses. 9 free online classes for managers who care about diversity and inclusion. And when I read diversity and inclusion, that is one of the goals we have to address. So maybe you like one or more of these online classes. Many, many, many free courses, right? I'll have a link to this site. All the text that you see in blue are all hyperlinks. So you can glance through this and find the ones that would interest you. All right, let's move to our next topic, diversity. I like this example. Do you know the difference between equity and equality? They're not the same. Glance at the image on this slide. We have equality and we have equity. What do you see? What's different between those 2 images? One striving for equality and the other striving for equity. Our goal is to focus on equity. Equity seeks to provide all employees with access to the same resources, regardless of the pre-existing barriers they may face. Equity is distinct from equality in that it doesn't provide the same resources and opportunities to everyone. With equity, an organization will recognize that each employee has varying access to resources and privileges. And keep those 2 definitions in mind, the one for equality and equity. And let's look back at the image. Equality. Equal, equal, what's equal? Look at the boxes they're standing on. They're all equal. But look at the size of the people. Are they equal? It doesn't paint a very good picture. But if we come over to the other side and look at equity, what's happening? We have a tall person, mid-sized person, and a short person. Now look at the size of the boxes. The tall person doesn't need a box because he's high enough to look over the fence. What about the middle person? He only needs one box to look over the fence. But the little guy, how many does he need? 2 boxes. So that's the difference between equality and equity. And we want to strive for equity. Some other exercises that you might engage in terms of diversity awareness. You can see all the links to the different ones, and you can see what I'm going to be leading you into. Some of these might excite you. You might want to include these in your event day. Team building. That's another concept we should be addressing. Because if we look at the BDR and the sales rep, they need to work together. So, what is team building? I like this video. It talks about the 4 types of team members. I'll include the link to this video, and I encourage you to watch it. What are the best team building activities for collaboration and why? Now we're going to start getting into some sources where you might find activities that you can include in your event day. How important is teamwork? Have you ever worked on a team where everybody came together and what was the result? You succeeded. All right, now let's look at another type of team. You have a different team, 2-member team this time. You have one that's willing to work and the other crickets. They're not willing to do anything. What happens? It might put the full weight on the shoulders of the one that's willing to work. You know, this happened to me one time. I was assigned a team member for a graduate class. We were supposed to work together. Well, my partner didn't want to do any work. Well, I wanted my A. So I did all the work. And then before the start of the presentation, I offered him part of the work. So that way, when we went in front of the class, he would have something to say. Problem was, he didn't even want to do that. So I carried the whole presentation. My team member stood in front of the class, but he never said anything. We finished the presentation. My instructor gave me an A- for the presentation. And I was totally shocked because I knew it was quality work. So I asked my professor, why did I earn an A-? He said, because the other person didn't. He didn't use the work I gave him. He didn't do any work. And yet he didn't talk. So I couldn't create a team, which I thought was totally unfair, but that's the way it goes, right? So if you're working on a team, if you're a BDR, if you're a sales rep, if you're a student, cooperate, work together with your team, and then you can earn an A for the assignment. Now we're going to look at the best 25 team building activities. So the author says, right? Everybody says theirs is the best. Here's another one. 31 team building activities your team will actually love. Yeah, we've probably all been to event days before. Some of them are really great, and some of them are not. I encourage you to look for different activities you could engage in. Keep your goals in mind and try to find fun activities. Make your event day one of the best. Another one, top 50 team building games that your employees would love to play. Maybe. All right, another one we're supposed to be looking at is employee motivation. How do we improve employee motivation? Enable autonomy, recognize effort and achievement, be positive, encourage employees to embrace failure. It's okay to fail. In fact, sometimes when you fail, you learn more than if you do everything right, or you're told that you did everything right. And finally, encourage communication. We need to come together as a team and work as a team and engage in communication. 499 employee engagement ideas. I'm sure you'll find a few in there. Why we love employee engagement activities, and you should too. In this article, you'll find 10 reasons why you should invest in employee engagement, 5 quick and easy examples, 5 simple tips, and here's why we love employee engagement activities. Maybe you'll find additional sources there. Remember, we have to state the goals. What is it that we're trying to do in this activity? How does it address one or more of the 5 goals we're supposed to be focusing in on? Also, remember that our activities should not exceed 30 minutes. 10 frequently effective ways to motivate employees. All right. The last thing we're supposed to be looking at, sales tools. When you're selecting the sales tools, keep in mind the 5 goals we're supposed to be addressing. And we want to look for more than 3 sales tools because we want to earn a high grade. Did you know technology and business communication trends for 2021 and beyond? What do we want? We want more visual communication. Why are we looking at these? Because we need sales tools to help our company. We need to understand where technology is taking us and how we can use that to help our company grow. So, number 1, more visual communication. Engage in video conferencing. Have you used video conferencing before? Is Zoom a video conferencing? On-demand content for communications. YouTube and Vimeo. YouTube, I bet you everybody's heard of YouTube University. We use that for both personal and professional use. But what about this Vimeo? I've used it a few times lately and I keep using it on a more broader basis. I'm starting to like it. So if you haven't explored it yet, I encourage you to go search for it. Another one, anywhere, anytime, flexibility. 1 in 2 people will not return to jobs that don't offer remote work. 75% of people are the same or more productive at home. 75%, okay? So it's not a time to just kick back, watch your favorite shows, and ignore your job. It's not what they're doing. They're actually working when they work from home. Most of them, right? 80% expect to work from home at least 3 times a week. Do you work from home? Five essential types of team communication tools: messaging and chat, file sharing, video conferencing, document editing software, and project management platforms. I love how we have technology, and with the internet, we can link everybody together, no matter where they live. They can be working on the same assignment the same file. We've loaded it. Everybody has access to it. Life is great. 15 collaboration tools for productive teams. Do any of these look familiar? If you have a young child, K through 12, they may use the Google Classroom. We don't use Google Classroom, but we do use an LMS, so we can still work together. Now, what happens if you have already started a small business or want to start a small business? When you're working in a small business, funds are limited. So I always look for things that are free. And I found this one, 58 best free sales tools. Perhaps some of these will help. 50% of employees have had at least 1 to 3 hours of virtual meetings per week. 83% of large enterprises and 27.6% of small businesses are most likely to purchase video collaboration applications for their operations. But the thing is, we may not have to purchase it. We might find what we're looking for as a free resource. For example, do you buy Zoom or do you use it free? 54 basic video and web conferencing statistics for 2021-2022. Here you can look for the top video conferencing benefits. Why do we use video conferencing? Top barriers to wider end use adoption. Why are some people, reluctant to use video conferencing? Number 3, the most popular video technology expansions. Where are we going with video conferencing? This just gives you an overview of the benefits, the barriers, and the future of video conferencing. What are the 10 best video conferencing applications in 2022? These are all listed in order. How many of these do you know or recognize? How many of them have you ever used? If you've used more than one, which one did you prefer? Why? One thing I don't see on here, which I'm very happy, is Teams. I've tried to use our Teams, and I tried it several times. It never picks up my voice. And this is why I like Zoom. I know I'm being recorded. I know you can hear me. And there we have it. We've talked about Deliverable 4. I encourage you to always watch these videos. My goal is always on helping you succeed when you're trying to complete your deliverable. First thing we should always do is look at the content inside our course and then zoom in on that deliverable. Find out what you have to do. Are there any special instructions? For example, in this one, there were several instructions. So we can't just zoom back it and try to start the work. We got to focus on what we're being asked to do. And then we will always receive a grading rubric. I encourage you to always use that because I always, when I review your work, know that we're going to be using 5 types of events. and we spelled out the specific goals we're supposed to meet. How to cultivate fair, respectful, and equitable treatment, opportunities, and outcomes for others and ourselves. If you have any questions, please get in touch with me. As soon as this recording is ready, I'll be posting it in the course announcement along with the links to the sources I shared with you in this presentation. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.